We are just about 3 weeks away from spring practice in Happy Valley. We want to get a jump on the Penn State offense and the defense and special teams. We will start on the offensive side of the ball with Marty Leap from Penn State Rivals. Marty, how you doing?
Pretty good, Mark. How about you?
We are doing just fine. We are going to go to the quarterback position, of course, and all eyes on Drew Aller. Unfortunately, the last we saw of Drew Aller was, hands on the helmet and a poor decision with the game on the line and Penn State in between thinking, okay, do we run out the clock and go to overtime or do we give it to our gifted thrower to try to lead us down the field? And obviously he made a bad throw. But let's start with Drew Aller because to me, much improved throughout the season. We saw the decision making, the leadership just seemed more convicted in throwing the football and really showed off his arm talent.
Yeah, I agree. And, there's a lot of unfortunate reasons why Drew's last throw of the year ended the way it did. Obviously, none better than the fact that, that throw probably cost them a trip to the national championship game. But I think a big part of it is a lot of people are going to remember that and not the strides you mentioned that Drew made. The decision maker, especially the leadership. He's much more vocal as a leader on the field, which I think the team really needed from him this year. And they got that. And, it's part of the reason why I think expectations are going to be so high going into the fall. That's why you've seen a lot of way too early preseason polls with Penn State into the discussion as the preseason number one team is because of Drew Aller and those strides he's made. There's never been a doubt about the arm talent. He can make any throw in the field. But last year we saw a lot of strides in the mental aspect of it and that sort of thing where you need to see it. And it came. Again, it's unfortunate the season ended the way it did. Drew would probably tell you that's one of the worst decisions and throws he's ever made in his entire life, let alone his collegiate career. But yeah, he definitely made a lot of strides with his ability to go through progressions. He was a lot more aggressive with his legs, which made a big difference. Big time leadership, the accuracy improved. He improved in every area. And like I said, there's a reason why going into next year, you look at Penn State as one of the 3 to 4 favorites to win the national championship, and why Drew Aller is going to be playing with the opportunity to, maybe be the number one overall pick next April because he's going to be in discussion for QB1, and QB1's always in the discussion for number one overall pick. So, yeah, he definitely made a lot of strides. There's still some improvements you want to see. Obviously, year two in an offense tends to go a long way for any quarterback. So I'm sure year two in Andy Koldernicki's offense will just naturally lead to some improvements from Drew. But, yeah, it was definitely a year of a lot more growth and a lot more improvement than the negative.
In addition to losing Bo Prabula as the backup quarterback and a guy that obviously would step into the lineup if anything happened to Aller as an experienced guy who got meaningful snaps, those 10 to 12 reps against good teams, do they really miss anything in regards to those packages that he would run? Again, I know that we had the conversation when he made the decision to opt out of the playoffs, and it was my initial thought that this may not necessarily be a bad thing, that they just let Drew Aller be the quarterback from 20-yard line into the end zone and just not mess around with all this other business.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought there were times last year they tried to force the Bo package too often. There'd be times you'd see Drew in the offense getting into a rhythm, and then they go to the Bo Prabula package, and not even necessarily that the package itself didn't work because you might get a 5-yard run on first down, but you got Drew in the offense out of rhythm. And it was frustrating at times to watch. I know a lot of fans are frustrated with it at times. So I agree with that. And I think, too, if there's ever a time, I thought where the Bo Prabula package was most advantageous is, if you needed that true 1.5 yards, 2 yards, or it was too long to run a sneak, where you could have the extra blocker, essentially, play 11 on 11. But you can do that in a Wildcat formation with Katron Allen, with Nicholas Singleton. I think you're going to see, not to the extent they did it with Tyler Warren, obviously, because he was just a special once-in-a-lifetime kind of guy. But Luke Reynolds, who's going to be the next great tight end at Penn State, like Warren, played high school quarterback, so Reynolds would be comfortable taking a snap if you'd want to do similar packages there where, hey, we need that 1.5 yards. We want to play 11 on 11. Let's go get it. So I don't think they're going to miss that. I think they didn't miss it in the playoff, right? I mean, the offense was just fine against SMU and Boise. And against Notre Dame, I don't think having Bo Prabula would have made a difference. But yeah, they didn't miss it in the playoff. I don't think they'll miss it next year. And part of it too is you have all off season, again, whether you want to do it with one of your backs, whether you want to do it with Luke Reynolds or somebody else, you have all offseason to scheme that up and plan it now too. It's not like it was where when he left, what was it, 10 days before the SMU game, and you were stuck trying to come up with a backup plan. You have from now until August to figure that out.
Ethan Grunkenmeyer is the guy that has stars next to his name coming out of high school. So is he definitely the backup, and how does the rest of the room look?
Yeah, Grunkemeyer definitely going to be quarterback too. I mean, I know I've said it before. I think I've even said it on here. I always felt that Grunkemeyer was probably the next guy up anyway, even if Bo Bula sticks around. Very, very special arm talent, not to the level of Drew Aller. A few guys are, but Grunkemeyer was a top 100 guy in high school as well. Worked with the same high school quarterback coach as Drew Aller. And, I think he's a good mix of Drew and Bo. He's a better athlete than Drew, not quite the athlete of Bo, but a better thrower than Bo, even though he's not quite the thrower of Drew, that Drew is. So I think you're going to see him get a lot of run this year, obviously in mop-up duty and that sort of thing. I don't think you're going to see special packages for him or anything of the sort, but I know he's a guy too that last year the staff, a lot of the feedback behind closed doors was that he was ahead of schedule in the eyes of the staff. So I think that they're going to be very comfortable having him as QB2, and I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him when Drew does go pro after next year. And then behind him, you're going to have Jackson Smolik, who will be a redshirt sophomore, a redshirt freshman, excuse me. But he's coming off a knee injury. He missed I think it was a knee. It was either knee, ankle, something lower body that he missed all of last season. And then behind him will be Beckham Kritza, who's a true freshman, who, kind of came in as a little bit of a project when he gets to campus. Super arm talent, but very raw. But, I mean, ultimately, and this is no knock on Grunk because I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. If you look at that quarterback room next year, you're going to go as far as Drew Aller takes you. And I know you can say that about most teams at quarterback, especially when you've got a quarterback with, the unlimited ceiling that a guy like Drew Aller has. Just look at how the season ended. Notre Dame was probably his worst game of the year. And look what happened. If Drew plays even mediocre in that game, they would have won. They would have been in the national championship game. I don't think they would have beaten Ohio State, but you'd much rather get there and lose than not get there at all. So, again, you're going to go as far as Drew takes you. But, if something would happen in the middle of the season where he's got to miss a game or two, they're going to be more than comfortable going to Grunkemeyer. And I think long-term, they're going to be very happy to hand the reins to Grunkemeyer when the time comes.